Welcome and hello. This is a video tutorial on HEC ResSim, and in this lesson, I'm going to be talking about storage credit. All right, what we have on the screen here is a reservoir network, and we have two reservoirs. There's Reservoir North and Reservoir South that I'm calling. And what we're going to do is say that Reservoir South has credit to increase its storage or its guide curve elevation if there is available storage credit from Reservoir North. This is a very simple example with only two reservoirs, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm in the Reservoir Network module, so once you're there, go ahead and click Edit Reservoirs, and that brings up our Reservoir Editor dialog box. Up at the top, we have the two different reservoirs in the network, and already I've created a physical tab that shows the pool geometry for both reservoirs, as well as zones representing the top of elevation zone in this table here. Okay, so if we want to, the storage credit concept, it's a feature in ResSim that allows you to vary the allocated flood storage and thus the guide curve of the current reservoir based on the available storage space in one or many other reservoirs in the watershed. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to focus on Reservoir South. So that's this one here. The first thing we're going to do is go up to Operations and then select Use Storage Credit. So when you click that, we get a new tab, or I should call it a sub-tab within the Operations tab. And this tab has all the parameters that are set. And it already has my reservoir in there. That's just because I was messing around. This is the main reservoir editor panel for making edits to the storage credit in your system. So we have this tab that's now been activated, and as well as the checkbox now appears beside the Use Storage Credit box. This top part of the edit panel is called the Crediting Reservoir List. So this is where we have a list of all the reservoirs that can provide credit to our main selected reservoir here, Reservoir South. What you want to do is click this button, Edit Reservoir Set, and what may be the default setting is okay, no reservoirs. So you'll go ahead and click Edit Reservoir Set, select all the reservoirs in the watershed you want to designate as reservoirs that can provide credit to your selected Reservoir South. So I'll select Reservoir North, click Add, and then click OK. Now we have this record of Reservoir North up here in our crediting reservoir list. Down below, we have a different table, and this is called the storage credit relationship. And it shows the available storage credit and the credit that can actually be applied to the required flood storage. So let's go ahead and add some numbers here. Let's start at the top table and then we'll work our way down to the bottom table and then show the plots. The North Reservoir here, let me apply this and then head over to the North Reservoir and take a look at the zones. The conservation zone is at 1480, and then the flood control zone has a top of 1500. So in the physical tab, if I click pool, we see that 1480 and 1500 have storage of 28,850 and 50,000 acre feet, respectively. So there's actually about 21,150 acre feet of total storage. That's just the difference between these two numbers and available. So I'm going to go ahead and select Reservoir South and then Operations tab and then Storage Credit sub tab. And I'm going to type in 21,150 and the max credit we'll say is 21,150. All right, so maybe not all the credit can be used for this Reservoir South. Reservoir North does have a max credit, though, of 21,150, and that's assuming Reservoir North can allocate and use its flood control zone storage for storage credit. If Reservoir North can only use its storage or its volume up to the top of the conservation zone, then this volume here would be different. It would be basically the volume between the current water surface elevation and the top of the conservation zone. All right, and this number may be less if the storage from Reservoir North is shared by other reservoirs, not Reservoir South exclusively. The negative credit allocate allowable checkbox basically allows for the reverse situation where if Reservoir North has a storage above the guide curve elevation, and this checkbox was checked, then that would effectively lower the guide curve elevation at our South Reservoir. Down below is the storage credit relationship table. The idea is that if other reservoirs in the watershed have extra storage, then the required flood storage space in the current reservoir can be reduced by some fraction of that available credit. And that fraction is defined in this table here. So if we just said 0, 0, and then apply, hold on, it's supposed to give me another row. Okay, let me go ahead and just click OK, and then re-enter. See if, okay, so I got another row. If I wanted to say it was a one-to-one relationship, then I can just type in 150, 21150, and then tab off, and then apply. And now we have a one-to-one relationship in this table here. So this top table here showing available credit and credit are basically the defined by the data points in this table, where each row is a data point. But now I'm going to paste in some different data here. What it says is, it says that even if there's 5,000 acre feet available credit, then the storage credit to Reservoir South is still 0. It's not until we have more than 5,000 acre feet available credit is there any allowable credit to Reservoir South. So that same description can be summarized in this plot as well. And then, yeah, so if this was 15,000, this would be 15,000 here as the max credit. Over here, this plot represents what you may call a storage guide curve. So if we're on the first two rows where there's 0 storage credit, that would represent our 28,850 as the volume at the guide curve elevation. But then the next row up would be 5,000 acre feet, and that would be 5,000 acre feet of credit that the Reservoir South could store in its reservoir. That would be represented by this line here, which is 5,000 acre feet above 28,850. So there's 33,850, and then 10,000 and 15,000 over are represented by these two lines, 38,850 and 43,850 acre feet. All right, one last feature to introduce in this lesson is the seasonal variation. We've seen this in a few other lessons, so I'll go ahead and check the checkbox and then click edit. So instead of just January, I can paste in some different dates. So here are a few different dates, and then I'll click OK. And let me just clear out this data because it was left over from before. Now I'm pasting in some different numbers here. And what you're seeing is seasonal variation for that storage credit based on the available credit. Now the plots haven't updated, and I've noticed that I just have to type in a number. So I'll just type in 0 again and then tab off, and then the plots update. So now we see a seasonal variation of available storage over the course of the year, which was the storage that's associated with the guide curve elevation. And then in this plot here, we're seeing the available credit versus the total credit. And that's another way to visualize the numbers here. All right, well, that was just a very brief introduction to the storage credit feature in ResSim, and show how reservoirs can credit other reservoirs in the same watershed by allowing them to store more or less water than their guide curve elevation dictates.